Avoid these 1099 mistakes with gusto.
Hey, I want to welcome Casey back. He's going to be talking about 1099s. 1099s are so important. It's so important to get all the data to make it easy to have those standard operating procedures. Casey is here from Gusto, and he's going to talk about how easy and painless Gusto can make it. And when we'll talk about some of our own stories about how we wish we had a Gusto way back when and how it would have made our lives easier. Casey, take it away.
Awesome. David, thank you so much for having me back. 1099s. So many clients that I work with, they're not ready to pay themselves as S-Corps yet. They're not ready to hire employees yet, but they do have contractors that they work with, both business and individual contractors, which is great. Well, then come the end of the year, what happens? Now you got to file those 1099s for them. And I know personally when I ran my business that there was times where I messed up the 1099s and I had to go and file amendments and get them fixed. And it was just a really big headache. So with Gusto, aside from the W-2 payroll and all that functionality, you can pay 1099 contractors through Gusto. And I'll show you how easy this is. You do not have to have W-2 employees to have a contractor only plan. When you go into Gusto, you have the option to add a contractor, both business and individual contractors. You can go in and you can pay them as frequently as you want. And that's the really cool thing about Gusto as well, is that you're not charged per payroll or per payment that you make to contractors. It's a one-time monthly payment. So you can go in, and Louis Armstrong did some work for us this week. And so you can go in, you can enter a set rate, or you can enter an hourly rate where they make X amount per hours. So currently we're going to do wage here of, he made $500. We're going to put in invoice ABC1, and it allows you to add an invoice because oftentimes you're getting an invoice from that contractor to pay them, especially with business contractors. You can add memos. You can set to be direct deposit. You can set it to be a check. However, that's most convenient for you to pay. Gusto is then going to show you how much is coming out of your account, which bank account, when that's going to come out, and when that contractor is going to be paid. Submit payment. Boom, you've paid your contractors. Now that's just the actual running of the payment. The really nice part is that come end of year, Gusto is going to go ahead and file those 1099s and send them out to your contractors at no additional cost. So it's going to remove that human error that I know that I've had happen to me. And David, I'm sure you've had situations with contractors, right?
Absolutely, Casey. I've had that problem myself, and it's been a headache. And so I wish I would have had Gusto. And now that I have Gusto, it just saves me so much time because I don't have to go back and rework. And if there is a mistake, well, Gusto is going to take care of it. It's great.
Yeah. And the great thing about if you only have 1099 contractors to pay, the cost is extremely low. So for your first 6 months, you're paying $6 per contractor per month. After 6 months, there's a $35 base fee. The nice thing about that is where it differs with 1099 contractors is that say that you've added a contractor and you've paid them in January and say July, those are the only 2 months you're going to be charged for that contractor. You're not going to get charged every month for every contractor you have in the system. You just pay for the contractors that you pay in a given month. So it's a super, super cost-friendly, very convenient, very easy to use method to really just handle such an easy task.
I'd love to hear also about some of the automations with 1099s, like the W-9 and some other things that are in Gusto that make life easier for people.
Yeah, so what's great about when you onboard an employee or a contractor, really what you need is you need to know what their compensation is going to be. You need to have their email address. And if it's a business, you need their EIN. At that point, what you'll do is we'll send an email to that contractor to have them onboard themselves. They're going to fill out that W-9. They're going to enter their banking information. They're going to enter their personal information and then send that back to you to review. So you're not even having to collect this data to get them put into Gusto. Gusto is going to send them the email and have them do that themselves. The nice thing about that too is, and then they're going to have a contractor profile with Gusto where they can go in and see those payments. They can see payment history. They're going to get that 1099 delivered to them electronically at the end of the year. So it's all very streamlined, very automated, and it really takes the hassle out of collecting data and all of that stuff.
Plus, they don't have to email you for the pay stubs or whatever. If they need it for a bank or they need it for something else, it's all there. And from my understanding, Gusto doesn't delete that account. It could be 2 years down the road, and if you need it for an audit purpose or a bank loan or something, it's all there. And so it's nice because the person paying doesn't have to keep track of it, doesn't have to do all that administrative tasks. And I like to tell people, create that standard operating procedure, have those boxes before you hire somebody. Most likely you're going to need the terms of service, engagement letter, or something that you're going to be like, this is the scope. And then you're going to have the W-9. Should you have to issue a 1099 or not? If they're a S Corp or C Corp, but we don't know often because a company might be an LLC. Well, how are they taxed? We don't know until they fill out that W-9. So typically it's a terms of service or a contract. Second thing is that W-9. Sometimes if it's in construction, you might need a bond or insurance policies, or you might need a background check. And I'm curious, Casey, with the background check, I know with employees, it's tied with a background check system. Does that also work for 1099s?
Not currently. I'm sure it's probably in the works. That's more functionality for W-2 hiring. But then again, the nice thing about having that contractor only plan, when you're ready to be an S Corp and pay yourself, or you're ready to hire W-2 employees, you'll be able to go in, add a W-2 employee, switch your plan, and then Gusto's taking care of the W-2s and all that fun stuff. So if you're in a place now where you're just working with contractors, Gusto wants to meet you there. As your business grows, evolves, matures, we want to grow with you and automate that process and take away as many pain points as we can, right?
Absolutely. What about other automations besides the W-9? Can somebody put in like an independent contractor agreement and have that independent contractor sign that through Gusto or approve it?
Not on the contractor only plan right now. Customizable documents come more on the W-2 side of things.
It makes sense why it's that way, but in the standard operating procedure, you might have that checklist anyways of I need this, and you're just like, I'm going through the checklist, and blame it on the accountant because like we're going to need that stuff. I'm looking out for your best interest. As a fiduciary, I want you, the client, to be prepared for those due diligence exams. If it's an audit, if it's a lawsuit, if it's a divorce, if it's a death, you have those documents, you know where things are at. It's easy. Here it is. Boom. Next. Boom. And you're not like searching and spending a ton of time. The worst thing is to do things 2 or 3 times. So let's just do it once, do it right, and be done with it. And make sure that we're setting it and monitoring it, not setting it and forgetting it, but just monitoring. And Gusto makes things so much easier. And that's why I love Gusto.
Well, that's why we like accountants, bookkeepers like you who really do. And this is why I tell people too, if you're watching this and you don't have a tax professional or wealth management professional that you're working with, the reason that people like David are so important is because they are looking out for your best interest from the get-go, right? And they've done this enough where maybe you're new to business. This is your first time running a business and you don't know what you don't know. Folks like David know. They can help you put in those standard operating procedures and show you the routes to go, like taking advantage of things like Gusto that's going to automate and make life easier. Certain tax breaks and certain, not necessarily tax breaks, but tax strategies that maybe you haven't thought about. Hey, do you have this in place? I really appreciate working with you for that reason, is because your heart's in it, what needs to be done, and you have a great path for your clients to do that. And that's why we're seeing your clients be so successful. They have a set path to follow. And that way they're set up for success right from the get-go. And that's, I think, why you and I work so well together, is we can just really strategize for your clients, make the most out of our technology, make the most out of your expertise, and really get them set up for success right out of the gate.
And that's blending high tech and high touch. So there was a client that I had, and he's like, this online banking thing, I need to go to a regular bank because I need to be able to interact. And with technology, it's great, but if you have problems, where are you going to go? And so that's why Casey, and that's why we're doing what we're doing now. And I'm introducing Casey because you might get on a call with Casey, and now you've already watched the video. Casey's, you know what he looks like. He's a real guy. He cares. This introduction. So this heart to heart, this person to person does really matter because we care.
Absolutely.
And you want to work with people who care about you, that want the best for you. And this stuff is a challenge and it's hard. And we got to set up those procedures to make your life easier. But once we have those procedures, and if we follow those, then that's going to reduce errors. It's going to make our lives so much better.
Save time, save money, save headaches. That's the name of the game.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're going to do together.
And my motto is friends don't let friends overpay taxes.
Exactly.
And I know that there's some new stuff coming out that's maybe hasn't been released, and I'm excited to bring Casey back on when those things are released. I don't know if there's things that have been publicly.
I'll tell you about them high level right now because I'm so excited this is happening. So for folks with W-2 employees, specifically hourly employees, one of the functions that Gusto has been missing for a long time with our time tracking solution was scheduling. If you have employees that work multiple shifts and those shifts differ week to week, you're having to use a different tech stack for your scheduling and your time tracking, and that's a pain. So starting October, early October, Gusto is going to be able to, you're going to be able to schedule your employees in Gusto along with track their time. This is huge. It's going to be included in the time tracking feature. So you'll be able to track time, schedule time all in one place. So that is amazing. The other thing that's coming out, and this is really something that I'm very excited about, is end of or middle of the year payroll switches. They seem like they're a big lift. It's a scary thing to switch payroll providers mid-year. And one of those big headaches is entering the previous payroll history of that year so that they get one W-2. Well, before, it's been a very manual process in Gusto and other providers. So what Gusto is doing now, starting with ADP and QuickBooks customers, you're actually be able to go in and upload those payroll records. We're going to use some AI technology to really pull that data, enter it into Gusto. So it's going to be a much less manual task, much more streamlined, and remove just one more headache of switching payroll providers mid-year. I don't have a set ETA for that one yet. Scheduling is launching here in the next couple of weeks. That's in beta right now. And so as soon as we have that and we have it in the demo, we can go in and show you what that looks like. But really exciting. This has been a long time coming, and it's here. So it's a big deal.
Excellent. Why it's better to start payroll in the fourth quarter than the first quarter, or to switch payroll companies if Gusto's the better choice than what you have, less headache, less cost, better service, all that stuff. Why is fourth quarter in now, October, November, December, better than January?
January's crazy, right? It's the beginning of the year. You have so many other things to worry about than setting up payroll. And because of that, a lot of times you get right down to the wire trying to get last minute information from employees and that. By doing it in Q4, it kind of solves a couple problems. One, generally the beginning of Q4 is not quite as busy as you have the holidays and you have end of year and beginning of new year. Doing it now, one, eliminates that kind of stressed feeling of getting payroll set up. The other thing is a lot of payroll providers charge for things like end of year filings, W-2s, 1099s. So there's cost savings by coming to Gusto. Let us handle the end of year filings, the end of year documents, Q4 taxes. We'll take care of that as well. So you're saving money and you're really eliminating headaches when it's go time and you're trying to get payroll set up, which everyone's trying to get started in January. Everyone's busy in January. So it's just a really good time. And really at the beginning of any quarters, it's not as big a lift as people think. I do recommend Q4. Q1 obviously is great just for clean slate, but either way, like if you're looking to switch payroll providers, schedule a call with me and David. Let's talk about what your payroll needs are, and let's see if it makes sense to change now. And if it does, that's great. We can help you do that. And if it doesn't make sense, we can plan out a time that does make financial and just realistically just sense in the way that it's not going to be a huge lift, huge headache. We can get together on a Zoom. Come talk to me. Let's figure out a real strategy for payroll. David can help you with the tax and financial planning strategy. And as a team, we can get your business where it needs to be, oftentimes saving you quite a bit of money.
Yeah. And circling back around to what you just said a second ago about me personally in my own story, where I brought 40 clients over to Gusto, including my own company, in October of 2018, before the pandemic, which I was so glad because the pandemic was horrible when it came to payroll with all the PPP and the EIDL and all that stuff. But anyways, so I brought people over fourth quarter because of that fact, because it was easier to do it then. And yeah, there's a little bit of headache, but again, having the Gusto to help with that transition, like what Casey said with some of the AI stuff, makes things easier. So have that conversation. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the pros and the cons. Let's make sure that you're choosing the right time, the right program. Do your due diligence, do your homework, like get the facts. But again, watching these videos, helping to create more of what questions should we be asking, right?
I'll tell you right now, first thing you should be asking yourself, obviously payroll's payroll, but the things that you should really be asking yourself are, number one, am I doing things compliantly? There are so many state regulations. There's so many federal regulations that you might not even be aware of. So let's identify your level of compliance first. That safeguards your business in the future by making sure you're doing things compliantly right out of the gate. Next is employee retention. I don't think people realize a lot of times how expensive employee turnover is. So let's identify what things that are affordable, that make sense to help retain top talent. Then we'll talk about timelines, right? Because timelines is the next thing there is. Does it make sense to change now? And the other thing that's great is that you don't get charged with gusto until you've ran a payroll. So maybe we all meet and we decide that, hey, maybe January Q1 is the best time to switch. And in some instances, that is the case. Great. Let's get your payroll account set up now. So then it's done. It's out of the way. It's not set it and forget it, but set it and monitor it. Let's have that done. And then January, you're ready to flip the switch. That just all goes into our initial discovery conversation, which really the beginning of that is Gusto the right fit for you? Every time that's going to be my number one priority to make sure that this product is the right fit for you. And if it's not, great. We'll talk about what might be. Then if it is, then let's dive into the compliance, the employee retention, and really what features do you need? What features do you want? And how can Gusto tie all those into one good plan?
And the goal would be, hey, I've watched your videos and I'm ready to go. You've answered all my questions. So thanks for the videos. Like that would be a success. Yeah, obviously, we want to make sure the due diligence is done, but we do care. And this is why we're putting on these videos, and we want to educate, we want to motivate, we want to inspire, we want people to get results. So these are about results. So attempting to ask the FAQs, there's going to be more frequently asked questions. We want to answer those. We want to give as much data, logic, facts, and emotions as possible to make the right choice, because we all know that we make decisions emotionally and back it up logically. So let's have both, right? Because we're humans.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to meet again. I'm excited to go over the new features. There's a lot of good stuff coming down the pipeline over the next 12 months, some of which I can't talk about yet, but we're continuously building this product. We're building these partnerships like you and I have to really help clients. And hit up David if you have questions and put time on my calendar. That's why it's there. I'm excited to answer questions and go through anything that you might want to know more about.
Sounds great. This has been excellent. Thank you, Casey. And we'll post this and get this out to the world.
Sounds good. I appreciate you. We'll talk soon.
Talk soon. Thank you.